Welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to be talking about things that I learned just by working at a sewing factory. So if you are looking to increase your skills or get a little bit faster at sewing and different things like that, a sewing factory can actually really help you if that's what you're looking to do. So anyway, we're going to be going over a list of, I believe, 10 things that a sewing factory helped me with and taught me. And then I was able to run my own tailor shops. I had multiple tailor shops at one time. And I've been doing tailoring for many years, probably sewing and tailoring for the last 40 some years. And I had multiple alteration shops, and I was in business for running my alteration shop for 25 years. And so I know what it takes, and I know that where some of these skills that I have came from. So I want to help you with them. So if you're someone who is, maybe a designer, or maybe someone who is looking to open a business, or looking to do an alteration shop, or looking to sew to be able to sell, things like that, and you're wondering right now, like, how am I going to be able to do all of this? How am I going to be able to put this all together to have my own shop, right? So I want to just tell you that sometimes we have to just, take things as they are and then build on them, right? So maybe your skill level is not up to par for what you think that it should be for a professional level, so you can be in business for yourself. And maybe there's a sewing factory somewhere in your area that you could get a part-time job or a full-time job at just for a little while to be able to gain some of this knowledge, right, from a sewing factory. And it really does help you. And so I'm going to go through the list of how it's helped me, some different things that I learned and that I still do to this day because it's just efficient, and I learned early on. I started working at a sewing factory, my first one, when I was 18 years old. I've always had a love for sewing and art, and I, started working there. And I first worked at one that was a women's lingerie factory, and they ended up going out of business, but I worked there for a number of months. And it really taught me a lot. I loved the job, right? I love to be able to sew like that. And it was just a really great learning experience for me, wanting to be able to design, wanting to be able to tailor, wanting to be able to have my own business one day. So I had to build from there. I had to start somewhere. So that was what worked best for me. So we're going to go ahead and talk to you about the things that it's taught me. So number one is how to sew with precision and speed. It really does help you to sew and to know that things have to be perfect, because there's quality control that goes around while you're sewing. And if they look at your bundles of different things that you're sewing and they're not up to par, they'll bring them all back to you to take apart to redo. So you have to get them up to par to be to be precise, right? So they have quality control there that will look over your things that you're sewing. And they'll make you, get them up to speed, make sure that they are precise. And the speed, because the commercial machine running a commercial machine is different than running a home sewing machine. And there's a lot of great things about a commercial machine, having a commercial machine when you do go into business. And speed is one. So a commercial machine can actually sew faster, and it's just really great for speed. So then number two, what I've learned was how to oil and clean your machine. So most of the commercial machines are self-oiling machines. They lift up out of the oil bath, and there's a little gauge on there, a little line where the oil needs to be, and you have to keep looking at that, every few days to make sure that your oil level is staying where it should be, right? So you want to fill it if it needs to be filled to that line, or just keep an eye on it. And then also how to take your bobbin out, how to lift your machine up, and to clean it all out with a little brush, and to make sure that it is, clean. and things like that. So I learned all of that as I worked at the factory, right? And then, so number 3 of how to sweep, I learned how to sweep up after yourself each day, after you're done working in your area at your factory, right? At the factory, you have to know that you have to clean up after yourself. So your particular area, you sweep up all the loose threads, you clean up any fabric that's lying on the floor, make sure that everything looks, orderly. And you learn that there. And you also want to take that into your business with you. So when you sew in your shop, you want to pick up after yourself, put all your thread away at the end of the day, and, sweep your floor, clean up after yourself, make sure the machine is, covered up, and all your tools are back in place to start the next day, right? So you know exactly where everything is that next day. That's important. And then number 4 of what I learned was how to follow instructions and to do things the way someone else wants me to do it. So a lot of times there's people out there that want to run a business, but they want to run it and do and sew the way that they want to sew, and they don't listen enough to instructions to do it the way the customer wants it done. So this can really hurt you in business if you don't follow directions and instructions and make sure that you're doing things the way someone else, the customer, wants you to do it. So number 5 of what I learned is how to be on time to work and to open your own shop each day. So this is very important. I learned this early on. When you go into a factory work, you have to punch a time clock. You have to be there on time to get paid, right? So every time you go to work, you have to, punch this clock and make sure that you are there before you're supposed to be, right? And so that also plays a part in when you open your shop. So it kind of teaches you to be, on time every day, and to be open the hours that you're supposed to be open. So if you're going to be open hours, you're going to have walk-in traffic, walk-in customers. You want to make sure that you have your hours posted on your front door, and people know when you're supposed to be open. Now, if you're doing things online, it'll be a different story for you. But if you are doing appointments, then you may want to just write on your door that you go by appointments only. So people who come to your business, they will know, right? And put your phone number out there so they can contact you. So then number 6 of what I learned was how to sew in production style and to make sure your work is quality. So sewing in production style, when you just sew and everything is just kind of like on a chain stitch and you just keep going and running the products, through, and they fall in a box in the front of your machine. This is more of like a production style. I did pockets that way. And in one of the factories that I worked at, I ended up working at another factory. When the one factory went out of business, I went into another factory and they sewed slacks. They sewed pants. They manufactured pants, and I sewed on the front fly. I also sewed on the pockets and the waistbands and things like that. And you really have to make sure that you sew in this way. You don't keep cutting your thread, right? You let it fall in the box, then you go get the box when it's full, and then you start clipping the threads all at one time. So you do all the sewing, then you do all the trimming, and then you do all the stacking, and then go on to the next pile or whatever, bundle. And then you also get a chance to look over your work for the second time, right? So you pass it through the machine. You think that it's quality, but when it gets in the box, you have to make sure that when you trim it, you look at your stuff again. Don't overlook your mistakes. If you see a mistake, go back and fix it, right? That's all I'm saying. So number 7 of what I've learned is to have a commercial machine that winds the bobbin while you sew. So a commercial machine is so valuable to you if you're running any type of a sewing business, because when you sew, you can also have another thread spool of thread that can wind the bobbin as you sew. So when you're sewing, you're winding your bobbin, and when you get done, your bobbin runs out, you always have a filled bobbin, right? So it's really cool. And so that can help you with speed and things like that, because the bobbin is being wound for you. You really don't have to take much time out other than to just change the bobbin. So that's great. And then some factories also have paper bobbins that we would use. Instead of winding the bobbins, they had paper bobbins because it was a certain color or whatever, or a certain thickness of thread that we used. And then we would just use a paper bobbin. But winding the bobbin as you sew is a really, really great way to boost your speed. So then number 8. So number 8 is how I learned different things from the factory, was how to never believe what you hear and to avoid gossip. When working with a bunch of women, you will learn this real quick, and it's really true. So both factories that I worked at that time, and I worked at other factories too. I also worked at factories where I sewed big, long filters, sewing air filters. I sewed at a factory doing that too. And you'll learn at these factory jobs that there's a lot of gossip that goes on. Don't believe any of it. Just don't even get involved. And that, it's not even worth getting in the middle of any of that. So don't even try, right? So the number 9 of what I learned is how to use other sewing feet, guides, and tools to make your job much easier. So it's so much easier, and you have to learn to always measure what you sew, right? You have to use that ruler. Like I have a wooden 6-inch ruler that I leave on my sewing machine all the time. I use that 6-inch ruler as I sew all the time. Plus I have my guide on my, on my throat plate or whatever. But I also have, my other rulers that I use for when I press things to make sure they're coming out right. And then rulers as you mark things, you mark different things that you're making or whatever. Make sure that you are using your rulers and you're measuring and things are coming out precise, because if they're not going to look quality. They're not going to look right. So you want to make sure that you are using your rulers. You're using different guides that can help you with seam allowance. You're maybe using different, feet on your machine that can help you do like rolled hems and different feet that you can put on an industrial machine that is for different things, So some of these different feet and tools and guides and things are really awesome. We also used a thread cutter that hooks up to the back of your presser foot, and you can cut your thread automatically. So when you're sewing production, you can actually just pull the thread up, cut it, and drop it in the box too. We did some of that too. It just depends on what it is. And how it's done. So, but these tools can be very helpful and also increase your speed when you're sewing. So number 10, all right, we're on our last one. So I'm going to give it to you. Here we go. So number 10 is how to time yourself so you know how much time it takes you to do each task. And then, or make a garment. So whatever it is, your task that you're doing, right, that you're going to price out, that you're going to charge someone for. You want to make sure that you know how long it's taken you, so you know what kind of a price you can put on that task, right? And then you want to make sure that you are charging fair prices, that you're not like undercharging yourself. Make sure that you are charging enough for your services, right? So you want to make sure that you do that. So yeah, so I hope that these tips are helpful to you, and they can sure increase your speed, increase your quality, and things like that. And there were some really great things that I learned sewing at a factory. And so I wanted to bring those to you today. So I hope you like this video. Go ahead and give me the thumbs up and like the video, and please subscribe to this channel. I would love to have you here. We'll be talking about more and more about running a sewing shop. I am going back into business after 4 years. I've taken off from my tailor shop. I took time off to write a book. I took some time off to work on myself, to work on different classes I wanted to take for web design and different things, coaching and all kinds of different things, so I can help you better. So if you're looking to get your shop up and going and you're not sure where to start, I'd love to be your coach and to help you. So go ahead and look in the description of this video, and I will have where you can book a free call with me. And you can also go and check out my blog. You can go and, do that. And then also watch other videos and things like that. So go ahead and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you here again. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.